Let's try making some chocolate cupcakes that involve tea. Yeah, this one does. Also some ill-fitting paper cups. We'll get to that later. So this is a Stella Parks recipe for a devil's food cake with a frosting. And the recipe is for a big-ass cake. You know, like 3 layers with the frosting and the crumb coat and all that stuff. And I don't want to make that much. I have no reason to make that much. So I cut the recipe by 1/3, and I'm going to make cupcakes with it. I think it should work. If it doesn't, well, you'll find out. 70% cacao, chocolate, dark chocolate. That's what she calls for. 56 grams is what I'm looking for. Again, this is 1/3 of the recipe. 56, 53, that's good enough. She calls for it to be chopped. This is gonna be melted anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. I'll save this for another recipe. Well, that ain't gonna work. All right, you know what? When in doubt, use deli containers. I know these things are made of plastic, so they're probably poisoning me too. Everything is. We live in hell. We're going in with 113 grams of butter, which is about a stick of butter. A stick of butter is a little bit more, but it'll be close enough. We are going to melt this in a low pan with 113 grams of coffee or dark tea. I'm going to use tea. It's PG tips, by the way. If we have any Brits watching. It's my go-to cuppa, or whatever the hell they say, their fake-ass language. This is a bad way of measuring. Well, basically got it, though. We'll measure out the other things that need to go in, which includes, of course, some cocoa powder. I can't promise that there aren't really fucked up labor practices involved in the production of this cocoa powder or that chocolate, but that's all chocolate. So you're pretty much fucked if you're dealing with chocolate at all. That's also kind of the reason why I don't make a lot of chocolate stuff. 28 grams. Hey. And then that's followed by 151 grams of brown sugar. I think she mentioned like toasted sugar or some other things. I think I'll be fine with brown sugar. I say I think I should be fine because Stella Parks recipes are, in my experience, phenomenal. Like the best, basically. You know, her brownie recipe are literally the best brownies I've ever had. But the thing is she is very exact in her technique and in her ingredients. And a lot of her recipes only work if you follow them to the letter. She calls for AP flour, 85 grams. And 4 grams of baking soda. Now that we have our various powders arranged, we wait. Yep, just melt it and then remove it from the heat. Well, looks melted to me. Once melted, remove from heat and mix in the cocoa and chocolate, followed by the brown sugar, vanilla, and salt. You got it. Brown sugar, vanilla, salt. 5 grams of vanilla. Is that 5 grams? I don't know. Oop. That was some pretty lumpy, hardened brown sugar. So I'm trying to see if there's any kind of big old lumps that are hanging out still. Looking pretty good. Good enough. And then it says to drop in some eggs and an egg yolk. Yeah, that won't curdle the eggs. 2 whole eggs. The yolk of an egg. I've seen people separate yolks a bunch of different ways. I've seen a lot of people separate it through their fingers, or they kind of jiggle it, or pour it into a bowl and kind of scoop it out. But I've just always used the pass-between method kind of going on here. You know, as long as I'm not eating it raw, I don't really mind if a little shell gets between me and my yolk. In she goes. Mix these bad boys in. Now it says to sift in the flour and baking soda. So we shall. Some people rasp on this, you know, like they'll take something like like this. Do it this way. Ooh, something just broke. Got a piece of plastic. Whoops. That coming off the microplane? I have no idea. Whisk thoroughly to combine. There she is. Now onto the messed up paper cup section of this video. I don't have the correct cup sizes for these normal sized cupcakes. I only have these ones that are like for jumbo gigantic muffins. However, I think I can make it work. Just gonna squish it in there. We're gonna kind of flatten her around. And that kind of works, right? I think that'll work. My theory is that batter's probably heavy enough that this isn't going to be like a problem. I could also, like, I guess, cut these. Ugh, do I want to do arts and crafts right now? Yeah, that probably works better. All right, fine. Fuck it. This is why I never do baking. It always ends up with me having to pull out scissors and a fucking ruler, crayons and a drawing compass. This is the exact same thing that happens to me when I do pie dough. Like, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna make an apple pie. I start making the pie dough, I start making the filling, and I'm like, yeah, this is going great. And then all of a sudden it's time to roll out and shape the pie dough, and I just cannot be fucking arsed to care about it at all. And so it always comes out really ugly. It still comes out delicious, but ugly as hell, because I get impatient very quickly. Yet here I am cutting individual muffin tins, so I don't know. All right. I think this is going to work. More or less, I think these are going to work. Good. There's a little too much there. These things are supposed to go like basically 3/4-ish of the way. Yeah. And also I am filling these pretty high. So in they go, 350 for... The recipe says 30 minutes, but that's for a whole ass cake. So I'm going to say, I'm going to check on them in 15, see where we're at. Okay, Google, set a timer for 15 minutes. I was also going to make a cream cheese frosting, and I probably still will, but I will probably do that tomorrow, and it will probably be its own video because I don't feel like fucking around with a stand mixer right now. So, yeah. It's been 15 minutes. Let's have a look. Ooh. Yeah, they domed a lot. Especially this guy. They're completely clean. So I think I'm going to take them out now. Those are definitely set. Maybe even overset. Who knows? I don't want to take these any further, so I'm going to let them sit. She says to cool the cakes in the pan for 1 hour. Again, I think I'm going to cut the time in half because these are just little guys. All right, so these have cooled for more than 30 minutes because I got caught up in something. If I make the frosting in a different time, then it may be a different video, or it may be in this video. I don't know yet. But we're going to try a little guy just as he is right now. We'll see if these kind of half-assed cockamamie cups held up. Ooh, looks moist. Yeah. You can even hear that little squishy squunchy. That looks like fantastic cake. Let's try it. Hell yeah. What are words that are usually used to describe these kind of things? Devilishly chocolatey, dastardly chocolatey, sinfully chocolatey. Yeah, hell yeah. So, the makeshift things work.
Later that night.
All right, let's try making some frosting. Don't mind this salad, by the way. This is another Stella Parks recipe. We are doubling down on going to Parkstown. Sugar, cream, vanilla, salt in a stand mixer bowl. 140 grams of heavy cream, which I do not have, but I have half and half, and I'm going to hope that works. Because I never have cream. Who the hell just has heavy cream all the time? I don't know. Does half and half whip up like heavy cream? We're going to find out. Is that getting to the sugar at the bottom? I do not know. Doesn't seem like it. Maybe I'm crazy? How to substitute heavy cream. The half and half is not working the same way as heavy cream does. So I spent about 5 seconds looking at an article that said that if you add butter to half and half, you can get heavy cream. This is all gonna end disastrously, I already know. This is what happens when I bake, by the way. Everything just turns to shit. Let's see what happens. We're not wasting a huge amount of ingredients. This didn't work out.
Later, in the void.
It turns out you can't substitute half and half for heavy cream. We're gonna go with a recipe from Glenn and Friends Cooking, which is a cooking show I like a lot. He's been making YouTube videos for like a million years, basically. His recipe is a lot more simple. It is a half cup of butter, a brick of cream cheese, 8 ounces, and then enough confectioner's sugar, powdered sugar, to your liking, somewhere between 2 and 3 cups. I'm also going to add a pinch of salt here and maybe a little vanilla, just a little vanilla. Whisk until light and airy, and start adding the sugar. All right, that's as good as I'm willing to care about right now. Start with some confectioner sugar. You said a bit at a time. And you go back in, scrape the bowl down again. Going with roughly a 2nd cup. That's looking pretty good to me. Looks pretty good. I'm going to throw this in the fridge to firm up some, but for right now I'm going to decorate one of these for a picture. I am not a cake decorator. I'm not good at this, and I also don't really care too much, so I'm not going to do a piping bag or anything like that. I guess I'm going to just kind of smear. That looks awful. That looks horrible. Ugh, am I really going to pipe one out for the fucking thumbnail? I guess so. I'm already becoming a YouTube click whore. See? It's already being a mess. See if I can make this marginally better. Marginally better. All right, that took about 3 times as long as I wanted it to. And I'm going to eat the ugly ones because, you know, the ugly ones deserve your love. And also, I don't like an abundance of cream. Looks great on the inside. That's great. Frosting's not overly sweet. A little bit of tang. Might be a little broken looking, but he's got it where it counts, man. That is a pretty dang good, pretty easy chocolate cupcake. Did you need a new recipe for chocolate cupcake? No. No, absolutely you didn't. This is just completely bullshit. I just wanted to make a chocolate cupcake, so here we are. And now I've eaten one. I've eaten more than one, in fact. So go make chocolate cupcakes, or don't, if you don't like them, or you don't want to, because it's kind of a pain in the ass. You already know if you like them, and you already know if you like making them, right? You're an adult. I'm not your dad.